the end of the day, all of the PPTs will be uploaded with respect to the current affairs also and with respect to the mapping sessions, right? As I told you yesterday that we had already finished 3 explanation sessions of current affairs. For that, those PPTs will be uploaded, the keys will be uploaded. And for this mapping session, I would upload the necessary PPTs, whatever I'm showing you here. Okay. Right. So the first aspect we are supposed to discuss is ocean current. See, we had seen some aspects of uh, geomorphology, and we had also seen some aspects in the context of climatology. And I think we'll have to look into some aspects of oceanography. Now, first, I'll teach you some basics of oceanography, then we'll get into that business. Now, when you look at these aspects of oceanography, we see that all of the aspects of oceanography is fundamentally dealt in the context of water. And when you look at this hydrosphere, or when you look at hydrosphere or water in the context of any of your world, we see that 70% is marine water and 30% is freshwater sources. And when we look at how do you classify, or what are the different types of classification that we see in the context of water, we see it is fresh water. If it has around 5% of salinity, it is brackish. If it is 35%, if it is more than 35%, then we see it is going to come into the category of marine or saline condition. Right? That is what is one basic classification that we see with respect to these sources. And from there, when we look at this 30% fresh water, we see that these are sourced from different aspects. And one particular mnemonic that I always keep telling is IG likes SAS Bahu. SAS Bahu was a serial, right? And what is the latest serial that is going on? Yenadu Sastika Deepam, again, they have come up with this thing, right? Trailer was there. Brahmamudi is anyway going on, right? I think now Kavya is getting the hold of the family, right? Okay. Sorry, ఇవన్నీ మీకు ఎట్లా తెలుసు కరెంట్ అఫైర్స్ రైట్ సో బస్ సో ఐజీ లైక్స్ సాస్ బహు I is ice caps, G is groundwater, likes is lakes, S is soil moisture, A is atmospheric moisture, S is streams and water or streams and river, and B is biodiversity. B is biodiversity. So when you look at these different aspects, this is what is the contribution, because this particular question was asked in UPSC thrice. And the latest time that now the latest one that we had seen was in 2021. So with that basic understanding here, then when we move further, we see that in any context of water movement, the water movement can have fundamentally 3 different kinds of water movements. Either it is a stream, either it is a current, or either it is a drift. Now, this is fundamentally dependent upon the speed of the movement as well as the volume of water which is moving. The speed of the movement as well as the volume of water which is moving, I see the streams are the fastest, whereas the drift is happens to be the slowest. And I also see that it is slowest for a reason, for the reason of large volume of water being transported. That is one basic classification that I see in the context of the types of movements of water, because I see rivers are streams, oceanic currents, and we also have one kind of oceanic current which is also called as west wind drift. It is drift for a reason because of its slow movement. Now, once we understand this basic dimension, we know that any of your water body will fundamentally have 3 different parameters which keeps varying. One is salinity, the other one is temperature, the other one is density. And when we look at this variation that is existing in the context of salinity, temperature, and density, what do we see? We see salinity will depend upon rainfall, salinity will depend upon evaporation, salinity will depend upon temperature, salinity will depend upon the nature of the water body, whether it is enclosed water body or whether it is open water body. Salinity will also depend upon what is the latitudinal position. We see salinity will have multiple factors which are to be dependent there. And when we look at temperature, temperature of a particular water body will also depend upon multiple factors, whether it is the latitudinal dimension or whether what is the nature of the oceanic current that is existing. We know that if it is a warm current, the temperature is going to be higher. If it is a cold current, the temperature is going to be lesser. Now, one basic dimension is this. Now, depending upon these factors of variation with respect to salinity, temperature, and density, when you look at the classic relation that is existing between STD, I see that salinity is directly proportional to temperature, I see that density is directly proportional to salinity, and I see that density is inversely proportional to temperature. That means higher the temperature, lower the density, lower the temperature, higher the density. That is fundamentally seen to be existing in this context. And when I look at any water body, what do I commonly observe in this context is I see that there is something called as surface water and there is something called as deep water which is existing. And when I talk about the surface water, I see that this is hardly the 10% of most of your oceanic body which is existing. And if I have to talk about an objective figure which is existing in the context of surface water, I see around 0 to 400 meters of the depth is what is considered as surface water. Sometimes they also say it is 100. Sometimes they also say it is 200. Do not worry about whether it is 100 or 200. If it is of a range of 0 to 400, it is what is seen to be surface water, and rest is deep water. And any oceanic phenomena which is occurring is majorly 90% of the oceanic phenomena is occurring in the deep waters and 10% in the surface waters. Now, once you understand this basic dimension of this, we see that there is a variation of salinity, temperature, and density that is happening across the depth of the water body. And when you look at this depth of the water body, what you find, we see that as the depth is increasing, that means as I'm moving deeper, I find salinity increases, temperature decreases, and density increases. And there is a particular depth at which I find the salinity increases sharply, and that particular phenomena is what is called as halocline. And I also see that at some particular depth there is a sharp decline in the temperature, and that particular condition is what is called as thermocline condition. That is what is called as thermocline condition. Now, once you understand these basic dimensions, we see that I know the principle of geography is balancing the imbalance conditions, and in this context I see there is one circulation which happens as a balancing circulation, that is ocean currents. And when I look at these ocean currents, the reason can be salinity, the reason can be temperature, the reason can be density, the reason can be gravity, the reason can be configuration. Configuration. Configuration fundamentally means what is the shape of the land. So, what is the shape of the land is what is the configuration in this context. And not only that, sometimes I also see the wind systems are fundamentally influencing the oceanic currents. So, I see that different parameters are going to exist in this context. One is either salinity, temperature, density, gravity, configuration, or wind systems. And sometimes I also see something called as Coriolis force. Sometimes I also see something called as Coriolis force. Now, with that basic understanding, when you try to understand different kinds of oceanic currents, we see there are two different kinds of oceanic currents which are fundamentally existing. One is with respect to warm currents and cold currents. And when you try to understand what is the difference between these, something which is moving towards poles and something which is moving away from equator, it is a warm current. Something which is moving towards poles and something which is moving away from equator is a warm current. And when you look at cold current, something which is moving towards equator and something which is moving away from poles, it is what is called as cold current, right? That is what is the categorical difference that you see between a warm current and a cold current as a phenomena. Now, once you understand this difference, we see that there are different impacts which are seen because of this warm current and cold current as a phenomena. And when you look at these impacts which are seen in the context of warm current and cold current as a phenomena, we see that we have a different impact with respect to warm current, we have a different impact with respect to cold current, we have a different impact when we have the warm current and cold current meeting together. And when I get to understand what is the corresponding impact, I see that in the context of warm current, I see there is a phenomenon of moderation which is happening. There's a phenomenon of moderation which is happening, because when I look at these conditions, what do I fundamentally understand is I understand whenever I see a warm current existing, I see that the temperatures are generally high. When the temperatures are generally high, the moisture holding capacity of a particular air mass increases. When the moisture holding capacity of a particular air mass increases, the probability of condensation increases, and I know at dew point there is a greater probability of precipitation occurring. That means I see that warm currents will fundamentally bring an element of rainfall. It is not only bringing an element of rainfall, but it is also bringing an element of higher temperatures. For example, if you look at one particular oceanic current called as North Atlantic Drift, when you look at this North Atlantic Drift, what you fundamentally find, we see that it being a warm current, because of it, what you find that the western coast or the western ports of your British are functional during winters, right? So that is one phenomena. When you look at the next phenomena that you see in the context of cold currents, you see that cold currents fundamentally bring in an aspect of desiccation. Desiccation. And when we talk about this desiccation, desiccation simply means drying effect. And when we talk about this desiccation, what do you understand? You see cold current, and because of this cold current, what happens? Lower temperature. Lower temperature means moisture holding capacity is less. When the moisture holding capacity is less, the probability of condensation is less. And apart from this, what do you find? You find the probability of precipitation is less. And that is the reason why you find that there is something called as Atacama Desert in the context of because of the influence of Peruvian current, or you have something called as Patagonian Desert because of Falkland current, or you have something called as Namib Desert because of the influence of Venezuela current, right? So that is one particular influence that you have to understand in the context of oceanic currents, right? And some special aspects that regarding oceanic currents we will see, or the last impact is what when you talk about your warm currents and cold currents, we see these are good fishing grounds. The reason why these are good fishing grounds fundamentally is because of, you see, there is a density difference. There is a density difference, and you know that warm current is less dense, and whereas cold current is more dense. And when you see this interaction, what happens is there is a submergence of the cold current which is happening. And when you find the submergence of the cold current which is happening, what you find, you see that there is a churning of the nutrients which keeps happening. And because of the churning of the nutrients which are happening because of this interaction of your warm current and cold current, what you fundamentally see, you see that there is a constant circulation of the nutrients which are happening, and because of which you find that there is strong fishing zone. But one fundamental issue that you see because of your warm current and cold current to a larger extent, you would see it is fundamentally because of this inversion in the temperature. What do you find? You find a foggy condition which is present, and because of this foggy condition which is existing because of the interaction of your warm current and cold current, you find that the navigation systems are disrupted in most of your parts, right? So that is what is the fundamental impact that you see in the context of ocean currents, right? Oceanography అయిపోయిందా? అర్థమైందా మీకు అది? That's what we have done, right? మొత్తం geography we can revise in 25 minutes. Yes, only by Gautam sir. Right? Chandigarh local. Geography చెప్పాలన్నా నేనే, తిరగ రాయాలన్నా నేనే. Exactly, right? 25 minutes whole geography. And geography is a romantic subject, beautiful subject, right? But when geography is going on, what is happening? I see precipitation, condensation going on. And because of what? Necessary evaporation is not happening, right? And I see high temperatures, moisture holding capacity. So both zyada hai isme, theek hai? So let's look at some of these important aspects here. I see that one peculiar movement that you're supposed to look into is we have something called as north equatorial current and south equatorial current. Now, what happens is we see all of the water is going to be piled up. When you find that most of the water is going to be piled up, what is going to happen? We know that there is going to be an activity of gravity. When you have this activity of gravity, what happens is all of this water is going to move back. And that is where you find what, Mender? That is where you find counter equatorial current. That is the reason of the emergence of counter equatorial current 2015 PYQ, right? Then not only that, there's another very important phenomenon that you need to understand here. That is especially in the context of something called as a phenomenon of gyre formations. When you talk about gyre formations simply imply the circular movement of the water and circular movement of these oceanic currents. We find gyres happening in the northern hemisphere, that is North Atlantic. That is, you see, here we have North Equatorial, then Gulf Stream, then North Atlantic, and we see which is this current, Canary current or Labrador current? Canary or Labrador? This is Canary. Somewhere here is Labrador. Be very clear, right? Now, this is what is resulting in a gyre formation, and this is also called as Sargasso Sea. It is called as Sargasso Sea for the reason that because of this constant circulation of your oceanic circulations or oceanic currents, what happens is you see, because of the change in the conditions or composition of that particular region, there is one particular weed which is flourishing in this region called as sargassum. Because of the sargassum weed, what happens? It is what is called as Sargasso Sea. Right? That is one condition. Now, apart from that, there is one more current which is very, very important in this context. That is Somalia current. I don't think it is shown here. Now, remember, Somalia current is one particular current which is fundamentally seen in African region, especially in the Indian Ocean region. And what is the speciality of the Somalia current is, if you see, Somalia current is one of the important aspects in the context of Indian monsoons. And what is the classic testimonial with respect to Somalia current is, you see that Somalia current happens to be a testimonial when it comes to that it changes its direction with the change in the direction of the wind. The Somalia current changes its direction because of the change in the direction of the wind. And one particular aspect is, for suppose, you know, there is something called a southwestern monsoon that we see because of the southwestern winds. And when you find the southwestern winds, what happens is when it is reversed, it is turning into northeastern winds, right? And you also see the Somalia current changing its direction according to southwest as well as northeast. One classic example of these systems. Then apart from that, yesterday, do you remember I was discussing about something called as Mojave Desert? And when I was discussing about Mojave Desert, I told you California current. California current was a cold current or warm current? It's a cold current. California is a cold current. Alaskan current is a warm current, right? And you also see the North Atlantic drift fundamentally divides into two kinds of branches. And one particular branch is what is called as Norwegian current. And the other one is Irminger current, right? Irminger. And the other one is Norwegian. So one is Irminger, the other one is Norwegian current, which is existing there, right? So that is what? That is a split of North Atlantic drift, right? So this is one small thing that you need to understand because of this. Now, one small consolidation that if you want, you can write down that when I look at the impact of Coriolis force, I see that cyclones also influence Coriolis force. And not only that, I also see the ocean currents also influence Coriolis force. I see that the corresponding impact in the northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere will be different. In this context, it is right. In this context, it is left. In this context, it is anti-clockwise. In this context, it is clockwise. In this context, it is clockwise. And in this, it is anti-clockwise. Just remember this. The gyre formations in the context of oceanic circulations in the northern hemisphere are clockwise, whereas in the southern hemisphere, they are anti-clockwise. Anti-clockwise, right? So this is one small thing that you need to understand in the context of oceanic currents. Okay. Next. Now, if we are getting into drainage system. Now, drainage system, please understand. When you talk about drainage system or riverine systems, when you talk about riverine systems or drainage systems, we see there can be two kinds of streams which generally exist. And when you talk about these two different kinds of streams which are generally present, what do I see? I see that there are something called as sequent streams and insequent streams. Or I can also say concordant streams, and the other one is discordant streams. And when I look at this basic classification in the context of concordant or discordant, I see the sequence streams can also be called as consequent streams, and also subsequent streams, consequent streams and subsequent streams. And when I look at these insequent or discordant, I see that these are what are called as antecedent streams and superimposed streams. These are antecedent streams and superimposed streams. Now, that means when you look at this basic classification of the streams that are seen to be happening, we see that what is the determining factor for its flow, what is the determining factor for its direction, what is the determining factor with respect to its tributaries which are existing in that context. So when I look at this sequent and insequent streams, sequent or concordant streams are those streams which are fundamentally determined by the slope of the land as well as the geological structure of a particular region. Now, depending upon the slope of a particular land and depending upon the geological structure of a particular land will determine what is the nature of the flow of that particular drainage system in that particular region. One aspect. Now, when I look at the second dimension, which is insequent, I see that not determined by slope, not determined by geological structures. These are what are called as insequent streams. Now, in this basic aspect, when I observe this sequent, where I see consequent and subsequent, consequent streams are those streams which are determined by slope. Subsequent streams are those streams which are determined by geological structure. Now, when I talk about this consequent streams, for example, east flowing rivers in peninsular region is determined by slope, whereas in the context of subsequent stream, it is determined on the basis of geological structure. Now, geological structure is nothing but you see the different arrangement of the rock system. And we know that there are two different kinds of rock systems which can exist. One is either hard rock, the other one is soft rock. Any rock which is easily eroded, any rock which can be easily fragmented or disintegrated, that is what is called as soft rock. And we know the principle of nature is nature takes the path of least resistance. And when we see the nature of the flow of the stream is determined by the geological structure, I call that particular stream as subsequent stream. And when I look at antecedent stream, I see that anti means much prayer to. And when I talk about this antecedent stream, what do you understand in the context of antecedent stream is I see that the stream would have originated much before the landform. Much before the landform. The stream would have originated or the stream would have been existing in a particular region much before the landform. And that basic dimension is what is called as antecedent stream. Now, when you look at the superimposed stream, I see that what is happening is there is a change in the nature of the flow of the stream, and you see the new stream is superimposing the old stream. Just remember this much. For example, Subarna Rekha is an example of superimposed stream, whereas your Himalayan riverine system is an example of antecedent stream. For example, Ganga has emerged much before than Himalayan system. That is why their water called as antecedent stream, a stream which has originated prior to the landform through which it is flowing. That is what is one small classification that you need to understand in the context of riverine systems. Now just observe these things here. Generally, UPSC has this habit of asking those rivers which are draining into some of the seas. I have chosen very, very specifically, right? One is Caspian Sea. Now into Caspian Sea, we see one particular river which is draining is Ural, and right, we have one more river which is draining is Volga, right? We have one more river which is draining is Volga. We have one more river which is draining is Aras. We have one more river which is draining is Aras. Now just remember that, right? Just remember that these are the rivers which are draining into Caspian Sea, right? And we have seen the country surrounding Caspian Sea already, right? If you go back and refer to question paper of 2020 and 2021, UPSC had shifted towards asking about the rivers draining into these seas. Then next, in the similar manner, we have Black Sea. Now, when you look at Black Sea, now just observe how many rivers are moving into this. One is Dnieper, Dniester, Danube, right? Dnieper, Dniester, Danube, and can I call Don also? Don is moving into Sea of Azov. Sea of Azov. Sea of Azov was between which all countries? Russia and Ukraine, right? We see one particular river which is draining into Black Sea is Kuban. One particular river which is draining into Black Sea is Kuban River. Kuban, right? Now others you remember, don't remember, it's up to you. But for me, I will remember definitely Dnieper, Dniester, and Danube. Mudu Dile, 3D, right? And K, Kuban, right? If these are not there, then it is not draining into Black Sea. Because generally UPSC will not ask this. What is this? Kizil Irmark. That Yes Irmark. Never yaar naalik tiragatledu. It's like thrill, something like that. Or like Philios. For that you need to see the Y should be rolling there. The Philios, right? So it is difficult for me, right? The maximum that I can Sakarya, Sarkarya commission. అది ఉంది కాబట్టి నాకు సకార్య నోరు తిరుగుతుంది లేకపోతే కష్టం, right? So Sakarya, 3Ds and Kuban, right? Very good. Why Kuban again? Now these rivers, African rivers which are draining into Indian Ocean, इसमें remember one Limpopo, Limpopo, I Popo. What is this Limpopo? Now it is also one of the lakes which are dying, right? If you go back and refer to my group which I have given, in that you have a list of the lakes which are dying. For example, in 2022 there was a question on Lake Fagubin, Lake Pupu, Lake Limpopo, right? All of these are what? All of these are the lakes which are seen to be dying. For example, Aral Sea was one more sea which was dying, which was asked in 2018, right? So Limpopo is one. River Zambezi, River Zambezi is another, right? Then River Ruvuma, and Zuba, Tana. You remember, you don't remember, but remember three. One is Ruvuma, Zambezi, and Limpopo. Limpopo, right? Tino are there, right? The name itself. Now, the African etymology will majorly have O. Congo. You know, there's one musical instrument called bongo. Nijamaya, I'm not creating, right? You would have seen those three drums and the sound will be there. That is bongo, right? Congo, bongo, right? Avanni enti? African. Now say, sir, Gautam also go is there. No, don't say I'm African, right? So that is one dimension that you need to understand. Just remember these names. Okay. Next. China గురించి మాట్లాడాల్సిందే. Now South China Sea, East China Sea, क्या rivers है उसमें? एक तो Yellow River. It's easy to remember. Yangtze, easy. Pearl, very easy. right? Then it's up to you. Other rivers, if you want to remember, Hyuhi, Hyuhi, right? That is one more river, Liao, right? All of sounds are like what? Heho. Those are what? Those are Chinese. Whenever we have Heho, then they are Chinese, right? So Hyuhi, Hiho, all of these are Chinese. That's how I operate on my question, my dear. I can't remember. నాకు తెలుగు గుర్తుపెట్టుకోవడమే చక్కగా రాదు చైనీస్ అంట ఏడైతే కష్టం right? So operate on the etymology. These are seen to be especially the science of phonology. We have science of phonology. Phonology fundamentally means the sounds, right? Remember that. And if you have more number of vowels being used, it's a European thing. It's a European thing. Most of the vowels are present in the naming which is given with respect to European countries. So usko to dekh sakte. Next. Brahmaputra. Now in the context of Brahmaputra, now whenever you're having your drainage system, please split them into right bank and left bank, right? Now, which is the right bank, which is left bank? That is right bank or this is right bank? Painada, kindada, painadi. Enduku river, it's moving like this. So right, left. Right? Some people will have dyslexic condition. Sir, go right. Go left, sir. Right? Now that is dyslexic condition. You don't need to have that. Try usme dekho. Tista, Sankosh, Manas, right? Subhan Siri, right? This is and Siang. Siang, Dibang, Dihang also will be there here. Right? Dibang will come first, then Dihang, then Lohit, then Dhanasiri, Kopili. Kopili, right? Now, especially in tributaries of Brahmaputra and Kaveri, we will have so much I. We'll have so many I, Kopili, Dhanasiri, right? Subhan Siri, Dihang, Dibang, right? You observe in almost every kind of Siang, Lohit, right? The cow, then Varalinarsi, right? I don't know. I don't remember complex names. For me, which I remember is only the tributary. Other out of syllabus. Right? Very simple, right? Now delicate mind. So one is Brahmaputra. Next, Ganga. Right? Now Vismi, you see, anyway, you know the tributaries. I'm not wasting time on that. Now, what I would tell you is please split it into left bank and right bank. That is the only thing that you need to understand. And what is the nature of the pattern of Ganga? What kind of drainage pattern? It is dendritic pattern. It is dendritic pattern. Because when you look at different patterns, what are there? Rectangular patterns are there, trellis pattern, dendritic, annular, radial, centrifugal, right? Obsequent. All of these are different kinds of patterns, drainage patterns, which are existing. And when you talk about a particular drainage pattern, you see that it is nothing but the way the tributary is interacting with the master stream. When you have it joining at right angles, we call it as either trellis pattern or rectangular pattern. If it is having a random structure, we call it as dendritic pattern. If it is originating at the center and moving away, we call it as radial pattern or centrifugal pattern. If it is moving inwards, for example, Sambar Lake is an inward, that is centripetal pattern, right? And if it is moving around an hilly structure which is present, we call it as annular drainage system, right? And if it is moving parallelly to the coast, we call it as parallel drainage system. Most of the rivers which are present on the Western Ghats are parallel drainage systems, right? Remember, right? So, आप लोग refer कर लेना इसको. I'm not discussing much on this because we have better things to discuss. Indus, not Indus, sorry. This is the tributaries of Yamuna. In specific, I wanted to give it this year, right? Manas, Chambal, Sindh, Betwa, Dhasan, Kane. Now, when you look at the longest tributary or the largest tributary of Yamuna, it is Tones. It is not Chambal. It is not Chambal, it is Tones. Tones happens to be the largest tributary of Yamuna. Tones happens to be the largest tributary of Yamuna. Baki, Kalisindhi, Paravati, Banas, all these happens to be the tributaries of Chambal. What is the Chambal speciality in the context of environment? It's a natural habitat for gharials. It's a natural habitat for gharials, right? And Ken Betwa, linking of Rivers, Ken Betwa. Which tiger reserve is submerged under Ken Betwa? It is Panna Tiger Reserve. Panna Tiger Reserve, right? Which state it is in? Madhya Pradesh. What is the recent tiger reserve which was classified in Madhya Pradesh? Durgavati Tiger Reserve. Durgavati Tiger Reserve, right? Because Guru Ghasidas was the 53rd in the context of Chhattisgarh, and Durgavati Tiger Reserve was the 54th in Madhya Pradesh, right? Very good. Then this is with respect to Indus. आप लोग देख लेना यार इंडस का. Now especially have clarity with respect to these, right? Have clarity with respect to Sutlej, Bias, Ravi, Chenab, Jhelum, and Indus. Now, what is the order? S, B, R, C, J, I. SBR, CJI, you know, we have something called as Indus Water Treaty 1960, which was brokered by whom, my dear? Which was brokered by World Bank. And these were given to Pakistan and these for India, right? And 100% of these to Pakistan? No, right? 80%. India ka 20% use kar sakte, right? For especially for habitat regions, especially for agricultural aspects, India can use these things, right? Now, especially in this, remember Kurram, Kabul, Gilgit, right? And Shok. Remember these tributaries, these are the tributaries of Indus, Shok, Gilgit, Kabul, and Kurram. Remember these tributaries. Baki ka to UPSC will not ask. Anyways. Now, these are some of the important projects which are seen on different rivers. Especially, please have a list of projects on Chenab. For example, Rattle Dam, Dulhasti, right? You see here, Salal project, Dulhasti, Baglihar, right? All these are fundamentally Rattle Dam or on Chenab, right? And when you look at Jhelum, you have Uri 1, Uri 2, right? Then Kishan Ganga project. So please have a list of the projects which are present with respect to Chenab, Ravi, Bias, and Jhelum, right? Just write from this diagram itself will give you that list. You please write those, write that list from there. Okay. Krishna, क्या ट्रिब्यूटरीज यार इसका? मूसी, गोदावरी और कृष्णा. कृष्णा, right? Don't we? Manjira, Godavari. These two are points of confusion. These two are points of confusion. Musi is Krishna, Manjira is Godavari, right? So baki ka to you see, right? Bhima, Koina, all of these are what? Which is the largest tributary of Krishna? Tungabhadra. Tungabhadra happens to be the largest tributary of Krishna. तो बाकी का तो रेफर कर लेना आप लोग. गोदावरी है इसमें, right? Venganga, Penganga, Indravati, right? Which is the largest tributary here? गोदावरी में largest tributary? ये माँ, Venganga, Penganga, largest tributary? Pranahita. Pranahita, we have three things converging and it becomes Pranahita. Pranahita happens to be what? The largest tributary of Godavari. ఇందులో లేకపోతే ప్రాణహిత లేనట్టే ఏంటి? మీరు మరీనే, right? Pranahita happens to be the largest tributary. 2015 PYQ. 2015 PYQ. जाकर refer कर लेना. Which of the following are the tributaries of Godavari? And in that first statement would be Vamshadhara and the fourth statement would be Penna. In middle they would have given both. 2 and 3 are the tributaries of Godavari. So answer for that question is 2 and 3. I don't remember the option. What is the option? But answer is 2 and 3. देख लेना. ठीक है. This is Mahanadi. You please refer. You please refer. Mahanadi. Right? This is simpler version of those. Kaveri. I told you in Kaveri most of them will have I. Right? Arkavati, Hemavati, right? Kabini, right? Suvarnavati, Bhavani, right? Amaravati, Harangi. అన్నిట్లో ఏముంటాయి? ఐ ఉంటుంది, రైట్? ఫర్ బ్రహ్మపుత్ర ఐ, ఫర్ కావేరి కావేరిలోనే ఐ ఉందా? సో ఐ విల్ బి దేర్, రైట్? వెస్ట్ ఫ్లోయింగ్ రివర్స్, వెస్ట్ ఫ్లోయింగ్ రివర్స్, రైట్? Now, one small clarification let me give you here. When we look at the morphology of Western Ghats, when we look at morphology of Western Ghats, what do we generally find is we see that Western Ghats happens to be very, very continuous in nature. Continuous in nature. And this is one characteristic feature. The second characteristic feature is these are steep, these are rocky surfaces. And the other characteristic feature is just because they are steep, just because they are rocky, and we also seen evergreen forest existing, that means large rainfall, because the Arabian Sea branch of Indian monsoon goes and hits this, and because of the orographic nature of the rainfall, we find evergreen forest or we find rainfall existing. But when you go into the nitty-gritties of the morphology of Western Ghats, we see the morphology of Western Ghats will be of three different types. This is the Karnataka region, this is the Kerala region, and this is the Maharashtra region. Now, what is the fundamental difference that I see in the context of morphology? I see the density of the mountainous structure. When I talk about this density of mountainous structure, especially in the context of Karnataka, I find that they are very, very dense. Now, when they are very, very dense, that means just imagine if these four fingers are the mountainous structures, these are very, very close. And what happens is all of those winds which are moving, because we talk about Arabian Sea branch of Indian monsoon, which is happening, and all of these winds which are moving, what is happening? You see, that all of these winds are going to be hitting this. And when it is hitting this, you know that these winds are not escaping because there is no gap for it to escape, because it is highly dense. And because of which, what happens? You see that there is an orographic kind of precipitation which happens. Now, when you look at the Kerala, and because of which, what happens? We see the maximum amount of rainfall that happens in the Karnataka region. And because of this maximum amount of rainfall happening in Karnataka region, we see Karnataka region is known for evergreen forest. It is known for high forest densities, right? And that is the reason why we have so many tiger reserves existing in Karnataka region. Now, when you look at Kerala region, it is slowly dispersed. It is slowly dispersed. When I look at the density, what is the density? I see that density is comparatively less, and when the density is comparatively less, what happens? Those winds which are moving, which are part of your Arabian Sea branch, they have scope to escape. That means the amount of moisture which is to be precipitated in the regions of Kerala region because of the lesser density is less. When I have this less amount of moisture which is precipitated, which is condensed because of the density being less, I comparatively see lower rainfall in the context of Kerala region. But when I look at Maharashtra region, I see that they are spread even more. The density is very less. When the density is very less, the probability of condensation, the probability of precipitation is even lesser. And because of which I see that the northern region of Maharashtra are comparatively what matter? It is comparatively dry region. Dry region, especially which region? The Nasik region, Vidarbha region, in that particular aspects, the amount of precipitation is less. Not only the amount of precipitation is less, we also see the other factor which is existing with respect to the density difference that is present, right? So this is one small clarification. So Baki ka to, when you talk about the west flowing rivers, it is Luni, Badra, Sabarmati, Shatrunji, Mahi, Narmada, Bhadar, Vaitarani, Tapi, Mandovi, Zuvari, Kalinadi, Sharavati. What is the specialty of Sharavati? Jog Falls, Sharavati, then Bharatpura, then Periyar, then Pamba. All of these are what? West flowing rivers, right? Northwest is east, and northeast is west. Northeast is not west. இவரே அது என்னம்மா பிரச்சனை right? Northeast is west and northwest is east. And I told you east of land is west of sea and west of land is east of sea. Oh, the pakka principle, right? That is what is the thing that you have to see. Now, one small clarification with respect to Narmada. Narmada is also called as obsequent stream. When you talk about Narmada being called as obsequent stream, why is it called as obsequent stream? Is if you observe, if this is the stream of Narmada, what happens is we see the tributaries are in opposite direction. Opposite direction. Now, when we have the master stream is in opposite direction of tributaries, that particular stream is what is called as obsequent stream. That particular stream is what is called as obsequent stream, right? That is what is called as obsequent stream. Whenever the movement of the master stream and tributaries are in opposite direction, right? That is one small clarification that you need to have. And one more thing that you need to understand is You study about something called as endorheic systems. Now, please understand, endorheic systems these are majorly closed systems, and these are majorly temporary systems. Endorheic systems are majorly closed systems, and these are temporary systems because what happens is you find that river Luni, you see that river Luni is lost in the sands, and river Luni is a kind of endorheic system which is present. And because of these endorheic systems which are present in the context of Rajasthan region, we see Rajasthan region is known for saline lakes. For example, in 2021, there was one question with respect to Didwana, Sargol, right? Sargol, Kachan, right? Different names were given and they asked which of the following was the, which of what did it represent? In that option D was what? Saline lakes, saline water bodies, right? So that is one particular aspect that you need to understand in the context of water bodies. Once you understand this, we are into minerals. अरे मिनरल्स में 5 मैंने उठाया which is important. ठीक है, एक तो कॉपर, 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 right? I mean, look at copper. The largest producer of copper is Chile, right? Chile. Then we have Peru, Chile, Peru, China, USA, right? Chile, Peru, China, USA, and Australia. Chile, Peru, China, USA, and Australia. These are the top five countries in the context of copper. Do you remember yesterday I was discussing about something called as Katanga Plateau? Katanga Plateau, right? When I was talking about Bavarian Plateau, I was talking about here Columbia Snake Plateau. Here I was discussing about Katanga Plateau. Katanga Plateau was known for copper, copper, right? Now let's look at Indian version of this. When we look at Indian version, we see one thing that you need to remember in the context of India is most of your copper is present where, my dear? Look at this belt. Somewhere in the central belt, majorly. And here one very, very famous mine is known as K3 mine. K3 mine, right? K3. And then you anyway know here we were discussing about Hazaribagh Plateau, Chota Nagpur Plateau, right? That was the condition yesterday. And when I was discussing about something called, I told you, Singhbhum Plateau. A Singhbhum Plateau was known for the metallic minerals. I told you that. So in that context, you see Betul, Balaghat, right? Singhbhum, Palamau. Palamau is where? Jharkhand. We also have Palamau Tiger Reserve that is existing. Then Hazaribagh. So all of these regions are known for copper production, right? Is copper a ferrous material or non-ferrous material? It's a non-ferrous. Which are ferrous materials? Iron, cobalt, nickel, and manganese. Iron, cobalt, nickel, and manganese are ferrous substances, ferric substances, because we see whenever we talk about minerals, we see there are two minerals, either metallic or non-metallic, and metallic is divided into ferrous and non-ferrous. And in the context of ferrous and non-ferrous, ferrous minerals are those minerals which are iron, cobalt, nickel, and manganese, right? Why they are called as ferrous materials? Because they exhibit something called as ferromagnetic substance, ferromagnetic phenomena. We see different kinds of magnetic phenomena existing: paramagnetic, ferromagnetic, diamagnetic, supermagnetic phenomena. Now, in this context, we see ferromaterials are ferromagnetic substances, right? Now, here, this is with respect to copper again, just refer. Now, in that, just remember this name, Grasberg. Remember this name for production of copper, Grasberg. And not only the Grasberg, also remember Moroni. That C is silent there, Moroni. That is where? In North American region, right? These are some of the specific copper sites. Remember the easy names, forget the tough names. Remember the easy names, forget the tough names, but definitely two names are supposed to be remembered. One is Grasberg, the other one is Moroni. Grasberg and Moroni, baki ka to Yovesh. Okay. The other aspects is Yovesh. Next, uranium. The largest producer is who? Reserves are Kazakhstan. Then apart from Kazakhstan, we also see Australia, Canada. Kazakhstan, Australia, and Canada. That is one dimension that we see. These are very, very important. Then from there, we also see India also has decent amount of reserves which are present. And when you look at the proportion, it's around 0.9%. Now that means just remember the Indian uranium reserves are less than 1% in the context of the world. And that can be one statement based question which can appear less than 1%. Now, you know, uranium is fundamentally what material? Uranium is a radioactive substance, and any radioactive substance can be of two types, either it is fertile material or a fissile material. And in the context of fertile material or fissile material, it is all about the classification with respect to whether a particular material is ready to undergo the fission reaction or the chain reaction or not. Now, in this context, what happens is you see a fertile material and fissile material. Fertile material do not undergo any chain reaction, but whereas fissile material is the one which undergoes the chain reaction. And when you have to make a fertile material into fissile material, the process of transforming the fissile material or the fertile material into fissile material is what is called as enrichment. Enrichment. And in the context of uranium, we see that uranium has certain isotopes: uranium 232, uranium 233, uranium 235, uranium 238. In this, only uranium 235 is the fissile substance. All others are fertile substance. They are not suitable for the chain reaction to occur. Only uranium 235 is a fissile material where it can undergo the fission reaction that is happening, right? And the process of adding that is what is called as enrichment process. Last year in 2023, there was one particular question which was seen where they said that at least 60% of enrichment, 60% of enrichment జరిగితే అయిపోయింది, ఏం లేదు ఇంకా, రైట్? మనం ఈ క్లాస్ చెప్పుకోవడానికి మనం ఉండం, right? So please be very, very careful with those absurd numbers which are used by UPSC. One related aspect is the nuclear power plants. In the context of nuclear power plants, we see Rawatbata with respect to Rajasthan, Kakrapur with respect to Gujarat, Tarapur with respect to Maharashtra, Narora with respect to Uttar Pradesh, Kaiga with respect to Karnataka, KK, Kaiga. One more K was Kakrapur. One more K will be there, Kudankulam. 3 Ks, right? Kaiga, then Kudankulam, Tamil Nadu, Kalpakam, Tamil Nadu, on the borders of India and Tamil Nadu. Then, right, Kovada is the recent one which is coming up, AP, my beautiful state, right? Then Haripur, West Bengal, Mithivriddhi, Gujarat, Jaitpur, Maharashtra. Now remember this, right? Because I think group 2 they had asked this question, matching, Adigara, probability, because न्यूक्लियर मटेरियल से एक क्वेश्चन डेफिनेटली होना चाहिए तुम्हारे क्वेश्चन पेपर में, बिकॉज आजकल इतना एक्सपेंशन चल रहा है. एंड व्हेन द टारगेट टॉक्स अबाउट क्लाइमेट न्यूट्रलिटी और कार्बन न्यूट्रलिटी बाय 2070, where you see the honorable prime minister had declared that we are going to be carbon neutral by 2070 as part of Panchamrit. Now, in that context, you definitely have to understand non-fossil fuel based energy is the fundamental basis for that. And one of those non-fossil fuel basis is nuclear energy. And when you look at this nuclear energy, you see what is the proportion, around 1.8% of the energy mix. And that means around 2780 megawatts is what is the amount of proportion of nuclear energy that is existing in the context of India. How many functional nuclear reactors that are present in India? 22 functional nuclear reactors. 22 functional nuclear reactors in the context of India, right? That is one small thing. Okay. Next, the same thing. In the context of India, which all basins are known for uranium? We have Aravalli regions of Rajasthan, Bhima Basin in Karnataka, then Mahadek Basin in Meghalaya, and one is Aravalli in Rajasthan, Bhima Basin in Karnataka, Mahadek Basin where? Where is Mahadek Basin? Meghalayan region. Then Kadapa Basin will be there. Where is Kadapa Basin? కడప అన్న పేరు తర్వాత ఆటోమేటిక్గా స్టేట్ రావాలి, రాకపోతే రావడానికి ఇంకేం మిగలదు చెప్తున్నాను. సో కడప బేసిన్ ఇన్ ఆంధ్రప్రదేశ్, దెన్ సింగ్భూమ్, జార్ఖండ్, రైట్? అండ్ విచ్ ఈస్ ద లార్జెస్ట్ రిజర్వ్? వి హ్యావ్ జాదుగూడ, 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 రైట్? అండ్ తుమ్మలపల్లి, జాదుగూడ, తుమ్మలపల్లి, పెద్దగట్టు. These are some of the very, very prominent reserves in the context of uranium. Tummalapalli, Peddagattu, Jaduguda. Jaduguda, where is Jaduguda? Jharkhand region. Jaduguda is in Jharkhand region, right? So these are some of the regions where you have to understand with respect to uranium distribution. Next. हाँ, ये क्या है यार? Lithium. Lithium. Lithium is also called as white gold. Lithium is also called as white gold. And you see, we have CAB countries which are known for lithium reserves. Or you can also say ABC. A is what? Argentina. B is Bolivia or Brazil? Bolivia. And C is Chile. This is what is called as lithium triangle. This is what is called as lithium triangle. Look at these points. These are what are called as. This is what is lithium triangle. What is a lithium triangle? CAB countries. One is Chile. The other one is Argentina. The other one is Bolivia. B is not Brazil. B is Bolivia. And I told you, wherever we have Argentina, we will not have Brazil. Wherever we have Brazil, we will not have Argentina. They are like India and China of South American region. They are India and China of South American region. Please understand this small basic, right? So that is one dimension. We also see in this context, Zimbabwe is having its own reserves. China is having its own reserves. Please look into the order. But one area that you need to definitely remember is South American region. South American region, right? Next. Please look into the order with respect to this. Now, India is where, my dear? Somewhere here. Yedo. We are in top 10. Just remember, we are in top 10. Are we in top 5? Not in top 5. Are we in, for anything, are we in top 5? For any parameter, are we in top 5? Economy, top 5. Top 3 with respect. पॉपुलेशन तो हो गया यार. पॉपुलेशन तो इनएविटेबल, उसमें तो सोचने की चीज है ही नहीं भाई. पॉपुलेशन डेफिनेट, राइट. And all our ancestors have shown their freedom. And it was a testimonial to the freedom. I told you that 1947 freedom, 1951 to 1981 is the phase of population explosion in the demographic transition. Explosion. Volcano. అలా పాపులేషన్ ఎక్స్ప్లోడ్. చైన్ రియాక్షనా? ఎన్ని చైన్లయ్యా? ఓరు 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 ఓరు, మంచి ఫ్లోలో ఉన్నారా, వెరీ గుడ్, రైట్. చైన్ రియాక్షన్ అంట, రైట్. లిథియం ఇన్ ది కాంటెక్స్ట్ ఆఫ్ ఇండియా, we had seen one of the largest reserves to be found in Jammu and Kashmir. There was one more very precious metal which was found in India. Covid. Gold. So, beautiful. Vanadium. Vanadium in the regions of Arunachal Pradesh. Only vanadium. We have also found out titanium. Titanium. Last year there was one question on titanium, right? Rutile materials. It was seen. Option D was titanium in that, right? What were you telling? Adile, right? Titanium, right? So look at these aspects. So the largest reserve was found where? Jammu and Kashmir. Now tell me one more thing. Where do we find the largest reserve of gold in India? Bihar. Beautiful. Once upon a time, we had it in the context of AP. Don't say Karnataka. Sorry, Bihar and ఎందుకు రాసా, sorry, AP. ఏపీ అనుకున్నప్పుడల్లా బీహార్ వచ్చేస్తుంది ఎందుకు? యో అదేం లేదయా, మీరు ఏందయా మీరు? నో నో. అండ్ దేర్ ఇస్ అ డిఫరెన్స్, నో, దేర్ ఇస్ అ డిఫరెన్స్. ఏపీ డజంట్ హ్యావ్ మధుబని పెయింటింగ్ బట్ బీహార్ హ్యాస్ मधुबनी पेंटिंग. एंड वो तो है, वो तो अलग की चीज है यार, वो नहीं है. ठीक है. So look into those things. Remember one thing, metallic in central India. In case if you have some conflict, metallic in central India, non-metallic southern India or coastal India. Southern India or coastal India. How many coastal states we have? 9 or 12? How many coastal states? 9 or 12, my dear. Decide. Huh? Rare earth metals, right? We have been seeing an important dimension of rare earth metals. When you look at these rare earth metals, and we know one fellow is the leading producer, China. China is the leading producer in the context of rare earth metals. And we also see around 5% of the rare earth metals are shared by India. Remember that around 5% is shared by India. That means it is more than USA, Canada, Australia, Tanzania, South Africa, other aspects. The major share is China, and surprisingly, the second major is Vietnam. And they're called as rare earth metals. They're called as rare earth metals. Why? You please understand they're called as rare earth metals because not because of the rare occurrence or not because of rare extractions. The aspect is they rarely occur as single elements. They rarely occur as single elements. That is why they are called as rare earth metals. Most of the times, rare earth metals occur in compound form. They do not occur as a single one. They occur as a compound form. Right? You would have heard about different names of rare earth metals: lanthanides and actinides. When you look at your periodic table, around 17 lanthanides and actinides will be there. Those lanthanides and actinides are what are your rare earth metals. And that is one thing that you need to understand. Okay. Next. We are into environment. Right? Now, what are you understanding in this diagram? Nothing? Huh? It is majorly the northeast. Right? Ismail will keep telling you some names. You please keep writing those names. Okay. Right? Raimona, Raimona, Manas, Orong, Kaziranga, Raimona, Manas, Orang, Kaziranga, Pobitora, Pobitora, Pobitora. Next, Dibru Saikova, Saiko Gadu, Dibru Saikova. All these are where? In Assam. In Assam. Next, Nokrek, Nokrek and Balpakram. Nokrek and Balpakram, these are in Meghalaya. These are in Meghalaya. Rudra Sagar, Rudra Sagar and Trishna Wildlife Sanctuary. Trisha Gadu, Trishna. Trishna Wildlife Sanctuary and Rudra Sagar, it is in Tripura. And Gumti, 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 Gumta, Gumti. These three are in Tripura. Then next, Dampa Tiger Reserve, Dampa, whatever you want to write. Dampa, Dampa Tiger Reserve. Then Blue Mountain National Park, Blue Mountain National Park. Then Pala Wetland, Murlen National Park, Murlen, Murlen National Park. These are in Mizoram. These are in Mizoram. Then next, Loktak Lake, Loktak Lake, Kibul Lamjo National Park, Kibul Lamjo National Park, Loktak Lake, Kibul Lamjo National Park. These are in Manipur. And Bunning Wildlife Sanctuary, not burning, Bunning, Bunning Wildlife Sanctuary. Where is it? All these are in Manipur. Then Singpan Wildlife Sanctuary, Singpan, Singpan Wildlife Sanctuary, right? Then Fakim Wildlife Sanctuary. Fakim. Fakim. Fakim Wildlife Sanctuary. Singpan Wildlife Sanctuary. Right? Holon Gapar. Holon Gapar. Holon Gapar Wildlife Sanctuary. It is all these three where? Nagaland. Nagaland. Then we move to Arunachal Pradesh. Kamlang. Kamlang. Namdafa. Kamlang. Namdafa. Pakke or Pakwi. 2018 PYQ. Pakke or Pakwi. Then Eagle Nest Wildlife Sanctuary. Eagle Nest Wildlife Sanctuary. Then Mauling National Park. Mauling National Park. Mauling National Park. And Nameri National Park. We see Nameri is on the border of Assam and Arunachal Pradesh. E region. See, look at this region. This is in this region. So this is what is the border that is existing. Right? That is what? Nameri. That is Nameri National Park. These are where? Arunachal Pradesh. Remember these names. Kafi hai, right? Now something which are related to orchids. You please remember, if you see something related to orchids, it is majorly in Arunachal Pradesh. Some things related to snakes. You beautiful species. Snakes. They are so cute. Choo-choo. Right? So when you talk about these snakes, these are either Western Ghats or Northeast. These are either Western Ghats or Northeast. Most of the birds, Western Ghats. Most of the birds, Western Ghats. Especially some ape or monkey species. It is either Western Ghats or Northeast. In Northeast, we only have a golden langur. In Northeast, we have golden langur. And please, it look very, very cute. You feel like growing it. Right? And when you feel like growing it, will you grow it? If you grow it, then people will grow you in jail. Please, one fellow like that only, he's a food blogger. Right? He's a food blogger. That means he eats one kind of animal every day. So that day also he was like, hi friends. And he cooked something. And that happened to be monitor lizard. Monitor lizard and udumu. Monitor lizard is a Schedule 1 species. Schedule 1 under Wildlife Protection Act. And you should not hunt it. There's no trophy hunting which is allowed. Hi friends. Right? ఈరోజు నేను ఉడుం తింటున్నాను ఉడుం. And finally, where is he? Jail. It got circulated. Forest Department. When Forest Department came, yo, what did you eat? Hi friends, udum. आगे लेके गए उसको. Right? Lack of awareness, my dear. என்னம்மா இது பிரச்சனை? Wow. See this. Oh, it's so beautiful. It is just looking like a wow. अलग लेवल का चल रहा है यार आज. Just have a look at it. Right? When you go back, you want me to shortlist in this also? हाँ? अरे बहुत टाइम हो गया यार. बताओ क्या? अरे ये वापस आ गया इसको. ये नहीं है. हाँ ये. Right? Focus on Karnataka. Right? No relation again. It is important in the context of exam. That's it. Focus on Karnataka. Focus on Andaman and Nicobar. focus on Karnataka, focus on Andaman and Nicobar, then shift your focus to MP, Madhya Pradesh, उत्तराखंड एंड जम्मू एंड कश्मीर. बस इन 5 स्टेटों को देख लेना पहले. हमने नॉर्थ ईस्ट में शॉर्टलिस्ट किया, राइट. उसके बाद कर्नाटका को देखो, राइट. देन अंडमान एंड निकोबार, मध्य प्रदेश एंड उत्तराखंड एंड झारखंड, वेर एवर, सॉरी, जम्मू एंड कश्मीर. ठीक है यार, ओके. यूके एंड जेके, इज दिस फाइन, राइट. हाँ, नो पीके, यूके एंड जेके, राइट. नाउ पीके इज इक्वल्स टू सीबीएन, राइट. नो, डोंट मेक मी राइट ए मैथमेटिकल इक्वेशन इसके लिए, राइट. हाँ, ठीक है. So look at these things. Now whenever you see some tiger species, it is either Maharashtra or Karnataka or MP most of the times, because one categorical feature in the context of central India is that we see central India is known for grasslands. Central India is known for grasslands. And when you look at the ecosystem with respect to your feline species, that is your lion, tiger, cheetah, all of this, we see the feline species are to be present in grasslands, because the prey base for them is black buck. The prey base for any feline species is black buck, and we see black buck to be abundance in the central highlands or central grasslands, right. Usko dekh lena ek baar. Tiger reserves. Tiger reserves. Who demarcates tiger reserves? It is with the help of NTCA. When you look at national parks, who demarcates? Either center or state, right? Either center or state. But one thing that you need to understand is if you want to reduce the area of the national park, it has to be, state has to seek permission from the center, and the final power lies in the hands of center to reduce or to shrink the area in the context of this. Now, when you look at wildlife sanctuary, you see wildlife sanctuary either state or center. To reduce the area of wildlife sanctuary, what is the condition? Again, it is in the hands of center. Again, it is in the hands of center, right? That is one. And when you talk about your tiger reserves, these are majorly classified by NTCA. And we see that NTCA is a statutory body which is established under Wildlife Protection Act. Because when you look at the different kinds of organizations which are provided by your Wildlife Protection Act, one is NTCA, National Tiger Conservation Authority. The other one is NBW, that is National Board for Wildlife. One is National Board for Wildlife, right? Then apart from that, we also have something called as Wildlife Crime Control Bureau, WCCB, right? Now, please understand, Wildlife Institute of India is not a statutory body. Wildlife Institute of India is more of an executive body, but whereas National Board for Wildlife, Wildlife Crime Control Bureau, Central Zoo Authority, National Tiger Conservation Authority, all these are what? Statutory organizations which are established under Wildlife Protection Act, right? Then इसमें देखो, we have around 54 tiger reserves which are at present, 54 tiger reserves, and some statistics with respect to these tiger reserves or tiger aspects is what? The tiger reserve with maximum number of tigers is Jim Corbett. Maximum density is Jim Corbett. Maximum density is Jim Corbett, and maximum number of tigers is also Jim Corbett with respect to tigers. Okay. And apart from that, if you look at the tiger population, we see that we have something called as CAC. We have something called as CAC? No, not CAC. It is one is the highest population is where? Karnataka, tiger population, or Madhya Pradesh? Madhya Pradesh. Second is Karnataka. Third is Uttarakhand. Right? Madhya Pradesh, Karnataka, and Uttarakhand. This is with respect to tiger population. Okay. Now we know that we have something called as tiger census which was given, and when you look at this tiger census, we see that this was the 8th census which was given, and when you look at this tiger census, it is conducted every 4 years. It is conducted every 4 years, and we see that NTCA conducts this tiger reserves with the support of Wildlife Institute of India. Wildlife Institute of India, along with Wildlife Institute of India, NTCA conducts this. And when you look at this, we see the tiger population now is around 3167 after 4 years. Right? Now, whenever you come across tiger populations, you'll have two. One is the actual figure, the other one is anticipated figure. Right? Because you can't Go and sit. Tiger, please stand in line. Hey, बच्चों एक दो आप बताओ, right? One chutku cup will be there. That will be roaming here. Hey, chutku nana, sit there. If you play something with the chutku, IP, RIP, rest in peace. Right? You can't do anything with this wild like that. Okay. There are some states with no tiger population. एक तो नागालैंड है, मिजोरम, right? Then Goa or Jharkhand or Arunachal, we see reduced tiger population, lower tiger population, but Nagaland and Mizoram do not have the tiger population which is existing, right? That is one dimension that you need to understand. You have number of tiger reserves with no tiger population. इसको देख लेना, right? Dampa, Mizoram, Kamlang in Arunachal, Kawal in Telangana, Satkosia, Odisha, and Sahyadri, Maharashtra. You have 5 tiger reserves which are listed with no tiger population, right? उसको एक बार देख लेना. Next, mangroves. When look at mangroves, we see, according to ISFR, Indian State of Forest Report 2021, around 0.15% of the geographical area that is present, 4992 square kilometers. 4992 square kilometers is what is the area of mangroves which are existing in the context of India. And we see the mangrove coverage has decreased only in one particular state, that is Gujarat. Only in one particular state we have seen the decline in the context of mangrove structures. And when we talk about this, the arrangement here, we see the highest mangrove coverage with respect to West Bengal, followed by Gujarat, followed by Andaman and Nicobar, followed by AP. So one is West Bengal, Gujarat, Andaman and Nicobar, and AP. Right? So that is what is the order. In this, remember some of the important mangrove structures. Ek to Gulf of Kambat, Run of Kutch, Ratnagiri, Malvan, Karwar, right? Karwar, Vembanad Lake, you know, right? Pichavaram, Pichivaram Gadu, Pichavaram, Pulicat. What is the speciality of Pulicat? It is spread across, it is an interstate lake which is present both AP and Tamil Nadu. Then Koringa, then Chilika, Bitarkanika, Subarnareka. Right? We see Subarnareka, Bitarkanika, Chilika, Koringa, Pulikat, Pichavaram, Vembanad, Karwar, Malvan, Ratnagiri, Gulf of Kambat, and Run of Kutch. Remember this. These are some of the important aspects. These are some of the important aspects. Okay. Next. Ramsar sites. Will you remember all? Remember. Right? You should not miss, no? Right? FOMO. Remember all. उसका कुछ notes लिख लो थोड़ा. Write some notes. Right? Let's write some notes. Some superlatives हम लिखते हैं. The largest Ramsar site is what? Sundarban. If you look at the order, Sundarban, followed by Vembanad, followed by Chilika, అదేదో పాట వచ్చింది కదా చిలక, ఏదో పాట యూట్యూబ్ లో నడుస్తుంది కదా, రైట్? చిలిక, రైట్? దెన్ సత్కోసియా, దెన్ కొల్లేరు, పేరు బాగుంది కొల్లేరు, మై స్టేట్, డేర్ నాట్ టెల్ ఎనీథింగ్, ఐమ్ టెలింగ్ యూ. ఎవరయ్యా అది? Two are my emotions. One is AP, the second one is very good. ఈరోజు అసలే సమరసింహారెడ్డి రీ రిలీజ్ ఎస్. ఇప్పుడు అర్థమైందా నా ఎనర్జీకి ఎందుకు రీజన్ ఉందో. రైట్. వాట్ ఈస్ మై ఫేవరెట్ డైలాగ్? బాలయ్య బాబు శిఖరం ఆస్వాదించాలే గాని అధిరోహించాలనుకోకూడదు. వెరీ గుడ్. రైట్. సో దిస్ ఇస్ ది ఆర్డర్: సుందర్బన్, వెంబనాడ్, చిలిక, సత్కోసి అండ్ కొల్లేరు. ద స్మాలెస్ట్, ద స్మాలెస్ట్, ద స్మాలెస్ట్ ఈజ్ వెంబన్నూర్. వేంబన్నూర్. ఉర్రు ఉంది కదా సాంబార్లో, ఉర్రు ఆర్. సో ఇట్ షుడ్ బి వాట్? తమిళనాడు. ఎస్, వెరీ గుడ్. వెంబన్నూర్, తమిళనాడు. నెక్స్ట్ రేణుకా లేక్. వేర్ ఇస్ ఇట్? మధ్యప్రదేశ్. 3 మ్యాపింగ్ సెషన్ల తర్వాత కూడా మధ్యప్రదేశ్కి హిమాచల్ ప్రదేశ్కి తేడా తెలియకపోతే గాన్. రైట్. ఎదువే ముడియాదుపా. ఓకే. సో రేణుకా ఇస్ హిమాచల్. ఓల్డెస్ట్, ఓల్డెస్ట్ రామ్సార్. క్యూలడియో. వాట్ ఇస్ ద స్పెషాలిటీ ఆఫ్ క్యూలడియో? It is also part of Montrex record. It is also part of Montrex record, Kyoladio. And not only with respect to Montrex record, but you also see one more which is part of Montrex record, that is Loktak Lake. Once upon a time, Chilika was there, but now Chilika is no more Montrex record, right? Next. Number of sites, the highest is in Tamil Nadu, followed by UP. The highest is with respect to Tamil Nadu and UP, right? Now in this, one simple thing that I will tell you is focus on Northeast. इसमें तो limited होगा. In Northeast, Diopur Beal is in Assam, Loktak, Manipur, Rudrasagar, Tripura, Pala, Mizoram. Don't be confused by Pala Kingdom. Pala Kingdom was with respect to West Bengal, Bengal region. Pala, Pratiharas and Rashtrakutas, the tripartite struggle where they were fighting for Kanauj, the meeting point of Dakshinapata and Uttarapata. Right? That is not the point here. Pala is in Mizoram. Now, does Telangana have any wetland? That means one simple thing is all states do not have Ramsar sites. All states do not have Ramsar sites. Remember that. And one more thing, all wetlands are not Ramsar sites, but all Ramsar sites are wetlands. All Ramsar sites are wetlands, but all wetlands are not Ramsar sites. All states do not have Ramsar sites. All states do not have Ramsar sites. Remember that. Okay. Then next. States with no Ramsar sites. Write down the list. Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, Meghalaya, Sikkim, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Chhattisgarh, and Telangana. Right? Biosphere reserves. How many biosphere reserves? Totally 18, and 12 among them are 12 among them are world networks on biosphere reserve, right? इसमें जो भी स्टार है ना asterisks, those are world network. All others non-stars are, I mean, all are part of biosphere reserves. You know that biosphere reserve is fundamentally having a 3 or a concentric structure: core, buffer, and the transitionary zone. You see, the core happens to be the most protected, and the transitionary zone happens to be the least protected. That is what is one small difference that you need to understand. Okay. Next, elephant reserves. Please look into elephant reserves. Please look into elephant reserves. Shayad 33, 34 are there. In this one elephant reserve, which is definitely important, is Sigur or Singur. right? Sigur Elephant Reserve or Singur Elephant Reserve. The Singur or Sigur Elephant Reserve is the point where we see the meeting of Western Ghats and Eastern Ghats. Western Ghats and Eastern Ghats. And we see Tamil Nadu region is known to have the highest density of elephants. And when you talk about the state with the maximum number of elephants, that is Karnataka, followed by Assam, followed by Kerala. Karnataka, Assam, Kerala. This is the order of the elephants. And when you talk about the maximum density is with respect to Tamil Nadu region, right? Then we have something called as Mike sites. That is especially with respect to a specialized conservation of your elephant reserves. So you can look into them. There are 10 Mike sites, and these are fundamentally by what? Your sites convention. Your sites convention is also called as Washington Convention. Your sites convention is also called as Washington Convention, that is present, right? So talk about that, right? I think we're done with it. Yes. Hope it was helpful. 3 days were prosperous, fruitful, productive. Yes or no? Right? All of this I would share, right? Now, do you want some more sessions like this? Not on mapping, but huh? Okay. Somebody wants it on, but polity. You దానికి లాయర్లు ఉన్నారయ్యా నేనెందుకు వాళ్ళు నాకెందుకు వచ్చింది తలనొప్పి छोड़ो उसको छोड़ो एक तो बजट ठीक है और व्हाट एल्स కమిషన్స్ మీరు తీసుకునేదా పెట్టింది ఏం మిషన్స్ అక్క డిఫెన్స్ ఓకే ఫైన్ ఇంకా సైన్స్ అండ్ టెక్నాలజీ ఓకే ఇంకా చెప్పు జిఎస్ ఒక్కో సబ్జెక్ట్ చెప్పు సార్ ఫ్రీగా చెప్పు ఆశ్రమం ఓపెన్ చేయి గౌతమానంద ఆశ్రమం గౌతమానంద కాలేజ్ ఆఫ్ ఎక్సలెన్స్ అండ్ కాలేజ్ ఆఫ్ స్టడీస్ సారీ ఎక్సలెన్స్ అన్న పేరు లేదు సారీ రైట్ రికార్డ్స్ నుంచి తొలగించాలి ఓకే ఠీక్ రైట్ ఇంకేమయ్యా వన్ కన్సిడరేషన్ ఐఎమ్ యాక్చువల్లీ హ్యావింగ్ ఈజ్ ఆన్ suspense, right? Because when I declared about mapping sessions on the current affairs explanation session of second test, right, I talked about mapping sessions that day itself, and I asked for an opinion poll. And when I asked for an opinion poll, I got the opinion, and people told me the comfortable time. I think this was the time that you suggested. Then immediately after 3 days, I see out of the blue one institute coming up with a poster of the same sessions, right? So I don't want to disclose what am I going to do, but considering your suggestions that I got, right, the necessary decision will be taken by the management, and definitely we will have some of these sessions, right? Because the fundamental principle of this is live and let live. Live and let live, right? And if you ask most of my students whom I can see, that I told them 1+1 offer. What is 1+1 offer? When you're coming, don't come alone, bring one more person. పోయేదేముందయ్యా బానిస సంఖ్యలు తప్ప, right? Kada, right? Are you up for more sessions like this? Yes or no? How is the Josh? How is the Josh? Prelims is easy or tough? Easy or very easy? Very easy or dead easy? Dead easy or dead easy? Are you going to qualify prelims this year? Yes or no? Thank you. Right, we'll meet in next session whenever we're going to have, and we will definitely have some of these. Thank you, my dear. Thanks for your response.